Okay, so this gets a little bit confusing and I want to address it specifically. When we're looking at item analysis, reliability, and exploratory factor analysis, EFA, we're doing different things, but it's all kind of about the same idea. And specifically, what you need to remember is that when we do these analyses, it's all of the items have to be on the same scale and about the same idea. And we want all of our reverse coding done prior. So we want everything worded and coded in the same direction. So the same scale means that if it's a 1 to 4 scale, it needs to be a 1 to 4 agreement scale, not a 1 to 4 agreement scale and a 1 to 4 frequency scale. That doesn't work. You need to put your frequency items together and your agreement items together. And they need to be about the same idea. So you don't want all of your, items about depression and your items about anxiety in the same thing. It's going to kind of mess with stuff, especially with the EFA. Those are going to hopefully group perfectly into anxiety and depression. So we want the same scale and the same idea. So with item analysis, we're going to get all of our descriptive information. We're also going to get kind of a correlation to a total score, meaning how does this item contribute to the larger idea? And we're going to get a Cronbach's alpha if deleted. So the Cronbach's alpha holistically is how reliable are these items together to understand are people being consistent in their responses. And we want that alpha to be above a 0.7 and higher is better. If we have a wonky item, if we have some item that is just decreasing reliability for some reason, we're going to pick that up here in our item analysis. So we're going to be able to look at each individual item and the Cronbach's alpha. If we deleted that, does it increase? So is this scale, are these items more reliable together if we remove one of the items? This is another way to catch reverse coding. If you have items that are worded in different directions, your Cronbach's alpha is going to be really, really, really bad because they are essentially fighting each other. What exploratory factor analysis does is takes all of this a step further and see how do the items actually group together. So how are the patterns in these items? Are they a single idea? Are there multiple ideas in the same line of thinking? For example, if we're looking at anxiety, there's lots of different kinds of anxiety. If we have 10 items, do 5 of them group together and you notice that they're talking about general anxiety versus the others are talking about course anxiety or statistical anxiety? Or do they all go together into this holistic idea of anxiety? So that's what EFA is doing. Let's look at a couple examples. So when we have, just because we have a survey doesn't mean we're going to use everything for this analysis. These are only our continuous items. So all of these demographic questions are great. We're not using them. In this section too, first of all, we see that it's effective COVID, but these are really also kind of demographic information, trying to get some background. They're about the same idea, but they're all different scales. And so we don't want to put all of these together. And again, these are categories right in here. So when we get into family well-being, we still have different categories. So we could not put these items in with these items. So once we get into, okay, so here's one exception. We could do question 17 and 18 and 19 and 20. We could do an item analysis on those 4, check reliability based on how these work, but even though they're still kind of about the same idea, they're also kind of different. So that may not make sense. But when we get down here, now we start talking about kind of satisfaction and worry. So not satisfied, completely satisfied. We can put all of these items together, which are much more continuous. They're all on the same scale and they're all about the same concept. And we can see how they group together. Maybe they all group together into one idea of satisfaction, or maybe they group together differently. Since these are worded, how satisfied are you? These might actually group together, and these might group together differently. We don't know. Here's another example. So here we have, again, all the demographic information that are not going to be included. Then we have pre-lockdown, so pre-COVID, what's happening with your child's attitudes. It's kind of what we're trying to see. So we say, child makes contact with me, never always, communicates with ease, never always, never always. So all of these are on the same scale. We can put them all together and test them. Here we change. So we're going to ask the exact same questions again, but now we're referencing post-lockdown. So after kind of pandemic, what changed? Did anything change? So the exact same questions, but now we're referencing pre and post. If we put all of these items together, it is possible that the two items about making eye contact will group together. The two items about verbal communication will group together. The two items about making friends will group together. And so we'll have all of these kind of mini factors, mini kind of subgroups that are the same item that's just asked twice. That's not really that helpful. But it also could be that we have two distinct factors of child attitudes before COVID and post-COVID, post-lockdown. In which case, it could be that all of the pre-lockdown questions group together and all of the post-lockdown questions group together. It might not be any of those. So it's probably going to be better to group all of the post-lockdown questions together, try out an EFA and an item analysis, group all of the pre-lockdown questions together, do item analysis and EFA, and then see what happens. Because it could be that eye contact and communication, these are both about kind of communicating, those might group together, but it might be that other ones, kind of making friends and, you know, that emotional kind of the SEL aspects, maybe those group together. And so you have different items that are grouping in different ways. We don't know, which is why this is so exciting, that you think it's all about one idea, one construct, and you actually find out that there's some sub-constructs. It doesn't matter how well you plan out your surveys, you still need to do this. This is very exploratory. This is so much fun to see how things are grouping together, things that you didn't even expect. When you look at the item content, you go, oh, that really makes sense that those group together. I would have never thought about that. And you kind of see how things go. So that is what we're doing with an EFA. With the item analysis, you get your descriptive information. You can see how good each item is. A lot of times, just because I can increase an alpha doesn't mean I will, depending on the overall alpha. And then you get your overall reliability for those items. So how consistent are they being? And it's better to do these by the same scale and the same idea for all of them.